Being the founder of St. Petersburg and being the head of the Romanov line, Peter the Great served as an important figure during the imperial period. Okay, since I married into the Romanov family and took my power through a palace coup, then I should build a statue of Peter the Great to secure my power. Wait, why should I choose Peter? Oh yeah, it is important for me to connect with him to show that I am his heir. The statue will have the phrase Pietro Primo Caterina CQ de MDCCLXXXII on it. That's Latin for Catherine II to Peter I, 1782. It shall also have the same thing written in Cyrillic to connect the two leaders. Catherine the Great selected the statue to overlook the Nava River. The Nava River also was where Peter the Great built his first home. And then St. Isaac's Cathedral is behind it, as you can see. But the cathedral was not actually finished until a few years after the statue was already there. And back to the river, that played an important role in the growth of the city. So the statue of Peter the Great was basically in the middle of this square, and that kind of looks like a square, with all these buildings around it that represented the church and the state. And this square was called Senate Square, but before then it was called the Decembrist Square in remembrance of a revolt that took place there in 1825. Even though this sculpture was the best one of Peter the Great, it wasn't the first one of him. In 1716, Peter the Great chose an Italian artist to make a sculpture of him to celebrate all of his military accomplishments. In 1724, Peter the Great finally approved the plans for his sculpture. Stamp. In 1725, Peter the Great died. In 1747, the cast of the sculpture was done, but the artist had died by then. Finally, in 1800, after all those years, Paul I made orders to have the statue mounted. But by then, Catherine the Great's monument for Peter the Great had already been mounted. Just like Catherine the Great linked her name to Peter the Great, Paul I connected his name to the founder of St. Petersburg by writing the inscription to great-grandfather from great-grandson on this older sculpture. These pieces of art demonstrate Peter the Great's long-lasting impact as a founding figure of the Romanov Empire.